channel. Today we're going to be going over a quick review of the Honor and Legacy pack, which came out on August 6th for the Atgames 4KP. These games originally came out on consoles 2 years ago in June of 2023, so they're a little bit dated, but you've probably played them on Pinball FX either through your PlayStation, Xbox, or Switch accounts somewhere or another, possibly on Steam. They're very involved games, and so we got a port of those over to the Atgames 4KP, which has been an absolutely wonderful platform for all these brand new Zen tables coming out. We're getting some day-and-date releases now. Obviously the Tomb Raider ones came out, which you can see here, and we also are getting Pinbot, Whodunit, and Taxi this coming week. So this week we got Verne's Mysterious Island, and we got A Samurai's Vengeance. So we'll be going over these two titles here today, and I'll see what you guys think. I'll give you my thoughts on them. We'll play just a little bit to give you a taste of what the gameplay looks like and sounds like, and then I'll apply a rating to it. Turn this up.
Mysterious Island.
And I apologize, I didn't clean the glass before I started, so we're going to do that real quick.
I will be your guide.
First off, beautiful table. What you're hearing is not a hiss. You're actually hearing the waterfall in the back of the table. It is very prominent up here in the upper left, but you do hear it even across the top. So you're hearing it here and a little bit here. It's very centered, so it's pretty well described here. Graphically, this table is pretty clean. You can see a little bit of jaggies in the rails here and here, but otherwise it's pretty crystal clear. The lava bubbling and spewing smoke out of the volcano here looks really, really good. The pirate ship kind of rocks, settles back and forth in the water. You see a little bit of water flow, and then the water flow is actually pretty good. It's got a little bit of frame drop as it comes through here, but nothing too major. They're really trying to make everything be 60 FPS across the board. So otherwise, I think everything's really crystal clear. There's a little bit of jaggies here on the edges here of the slingshots and things like that. The words, I think, are pretty clear. I've seen some people say that they're a little blurry. I don't find that to be the case. I think they look pretty good here in general. I believe this is 1440p, which is pretty common for a lot of these Zen releases here on the Atgames 4KP. So, really very complex rule set on this one. So first off, you are a settler who has escaped to this island by a hot air balloon. This takes place, basically it's Jules Verne's A Mysterious Island book. This is an adaptation of that. And so, one thing I will say about this table is that it is very crowded. So the upper half of the table here, or the upper third of this table, from about here up, is really only this one little playfield. So realistically, I think this whole thing could have been about here, and the whole table could have been stretched out, and that's going to be my biggest complaint going forward. But we'll play the table a little bit, give you a feel of what some of the modes look like, some of the shots. Very tough shots. Like I said, very tough rule set. If you look at the rule set very quickly, you can see there is a tremendous amount of stuff going on. This is about resource gathering. There is a very multi-phased wizard mode, which is pretty involved, which is pretty cool. But first off, when we start the game, we're going to have to deal with this guy here. We're going to get to select our characters. These are characters from the book. They each have different attributes that will help you acquire resources throughout the game, and they will help you with the missions by doing that. In the bottom right here, it's very important to know, you're going to be acquiring things like food, wood, stone, and iron. Obviously, you can acquire the top three, and you have to craft the bottom one in iron. You're not just going to find iron in its raw form, or you're going to find it in a raw form, but through stone, you're going to craft it in the forge up here underneath the volcano. Hope to be able to show some of that. So we'll get started, but you have to keep all these resources in mind. They're very important to the gameplay. This game does have a day-night cycle as well, which becomes a factor as well, which is really cool. Different things happen at night than they do in the day. You'll have some coastal hunting. You'll have to wake the forest, which is a nighttime event. You'll actually get an extra ball the first time you go to nightfall. So very cool things going on. I'm going to go ahead and select Gideon Spilett. The reason I choose him is because he he can do stone multiplier, and stone is pretty hard to acquire. You have to do it up this little mini playfield. So that's what I'm going to use here. But really, it's up to you. If you find that it's a lot easier to, or you're having trouble getting wood, or you need a regeneration number, there's different options here. So we'll get started. This first little thing we're going to tackle here is Jupiter. He's an orangutan from the book. He's a companion, and you just have to make sure to shoot the ball when he is not there and acquire your skill shot. Like many games, pinball games, it is very important to acquire a kickback. So we're going to try to start that in this process. There's an award lane here with a fire spinner there, and we're going to try to acquire a kickback. But really, we're not going to do any of the modes to start. We're going to try to acquire some resources and try to work our way towards the game a little bit. I do have pop-up scores on, just to show that. It's not required, obviously. Only 3 flippers on the main playfield and 2 in the upper playfield. So in that regard, not too bad. Nothing crazy like a Magic Pixel table can sometimes be. The shots on this one are a little tight. Obviously, having a kind of a compressed playfield, you don't have a lot of real estate to be able to deal with the ball in this capacity. Anytime you're really only looking at the little bit of area above the slingshots to the flippers is pretty locked in for every table you'll ever see in pinball. This next small portion here, which is basically the same width, if you're starting to top out your playfield, in a lot of ways we are. We're already topped out here, we're topped out here. It really makes it hard to manage this area. So there's a couple, I mean, this is kind of a complex fan layout, if you will. You do have shots all over throughout that fan. You have a tight shot here, you have an orbit shot here, you have a pretty, like a 25% shot here, 25% shot here. This is an orbit, but it's not a really extreme orbit. It's pretty straightforward. And some pretty simple ramp shots, and then just one crossing ramp shot. So, nothing too crazy. There are bumpers up in the middle section right here. One of them being the fire pit there, and then the 2 other being the, I believe they're chairs or some sort, something like that. So, make sure you guys can hear this. The music is actually really good, I will say. I very much dig the music. So you have to craft material. You have to use the materials and craft things throughout this game to make it possible to beat the game or to score big when you actually do the modes. That is why, in general, I would say we're going to start with resource gathering first, and then you move over to the modes to kind of complete out the game as you go forward. It's a fairly low-scoring game. A really good score could really be under 20 million, even. But your wizard mode is going to exponentially up your score too. So if you get to that far, if you get to that point. Some of the shots, I'm trying to show and showcase a little bit here and there. Right now we're looking at waking the jungle. You notice it's dark, so it's become nighttime, or it's getting to be nightfall, and we're gonna awaken the jungle with a mode here. You see that on the DMD it says 95% awakened. Now we're starting a mode called Wake the Forest, and during this mode we have to keep these creatures away from their home, which is the granite house they call it. And again, very crowded playfield. You're going to be dealing with this type of thing going forward with all things. These shots are directly in front of you, and you're going to have to fight them off, very much so. So still did not get that second tiger. That tiger's actually going to attack the house. You can see there's another black panther here and another tiger. So the modes are multi-tiered, and they're pretty complex. They're you're not going to beat them with a single shot or like 5-6 shots like you get on Magic Pixel Tape on mode. These are much more complicated than that. And the crowded playfield really makes it hard to beat all of the modes. So I have not gotten to the wizard mode as of yet. I've been playing this for about 3-4 days since its release. And yeah, I'm not even going to finish this mode by the looks of it. The tiger has already attacked me twice. The black panther got me there. Ugh. Losing a ball left and right. Luckily I have ball saves on, but you can see how difficult this can really be. So that is the mode. And then what I can do now is I can actually try to catch some of the monkeys, and I can actually acquire a multi-ball by doing this. So there I got a couple of shots. You found Jupiter. And then, if available, we'll start Jupiter's multi-ball, which is now starting. And there they come. Again, there's a lot of posts in this bottom third of the playfield, and so trying to find spots to throw a ball into to even give yourself a moment is very difficult, especially in multi-ball. Typically, I would use the orbits to kind of buy myself some time, and that is really not an option here. So that was the multi-ball. It's pretty quick. I wish I was better at it, but it's just kind of how it is. Very crowded. You've seen a lot of things. If I didn't go through the process of acquiring my kickbacks early on, like I probably should have, like I would typically do during a tutorial, because I want to make sure to show you the table the best that we can. Along with more resource building, there's a couple of things that we can show. There's worms here can help you with fishing. So if you hit the spinner enough times, you can actually help aid yourself with fishing. If you hit this fire symbol, you can actually go to do stone gathering. So we'll cover that if we can. And we're going to try to get into coastal hunting right now. Let's see if we can't show off that. Okay, coastal hunting. Another crowded play field, but we've got some more critters this time to attack. You see we've got a crab, some pigs, and it was a lizard here on the bottom. And we're going to lose a ball. So again, it kind of shows some of the difficulty of dealing with these targets very low to the flippers, and just kind of gives you an idea of what we're looking at here. This is actually one of the better games that I've played, maybe the best game that I've played since I got the table. I know the rule set very well, and it's still very difficult to execute because of the way the playfield is established. So, anytime that you have more than 250 food, you're able to lock a ball towards another multi-ball if you want to do that. I've actually done pretty well in acquiring wood stores and things like that. That's how you get fish. Try to do one more thing. We'll try to get up to the upper playfield here to show a little bit of stone gathering. So we'll try to show that. We'll let this ball rest to the left here. If you acquire lava sands on the DMD, you'll see that I actually get the ability to open up the volcano pass up here. So that's what we're working on. Now you'll see that that is established. And now I can take the shot all the way up to the upper playfield. Pretty easy shot. It's just a long ways up there. Make sure you have some momentum, or lose a ball entirely. So all it would be is I'm shooting this one ball up here. It's a pretty difficult shot to keep it on this small playfield, but we would acquire pieces of stone throughout this, and there's a little spot between these two shield targets that drops down that becomes the forge to craft your iron. So that is a good taste of what Verne's Mysterious Island is all about. If I had to rate this table, I would really rate this table about a 6.5. The reason I do that is I think there's just so much things that could have been done better. I really think that if they had taken this playfield here that I kind of mentioned earlier, if they had slid this down and kind of put it here and made it a little easier to get to, they could have taken all of this real estate and added it to this area here. If they'd taken this whole thing and slid it up, this whole playfield would have been so much more accessible, so much better gameplay over everything. This is not a problem just on the 4KP. This is for all FX consoles and ports. It's just the same thing. If they just take this entire thing and just slide it up, pull this back, maybe it needs to be a wider playfield. We do get a lot of squished playfields because of the 4KP, just being a little bit out of aspect ratio with some of the designs that they've created. But yeah, I think a 6.5 is pretty fair for this one. It is a very difficult table. It's not something you're just going to pick up and play. So a lot of people are going to have a lot of trouble with this particular table for that reason. And the rule set's so complex that I don't think a lot of people are going to spend the time to learn it. But that is Verne's Mysterious Island. Let me know in the comments if I'm completely off base or if there's something that I missed. And we'll jump to the next one. So the next one is a Samurai's Vengeance. This is another table from the Honor and Legacy pack. This one takes place in feudal Japan, and it kind of plays a little bit like a samurai showdown.
I will avenge my master.
Okay, so first off, looking at the playfield, is this not a beautiful table, right? So, love the artwork, love the graphics of this table. It looks very beautiful. Gonna darken it up just a little bit, clean up the playfield a little bit for you guys. So the back glass is really plain, but really serves it well just to show. I guess he would be like an apprentice of a samurai. His master was killed by a clan of competing samurais, and so that is what we're going to be doing here to establish. The cherry blossoms are very pretty. You can see this tree kind of slowly swaying back and forth. The waterfall with the bamboo, again, same thing that we've seen on Verne's Mysterious Island. You have a little bit of frame rate issues with the waterfall. It's looking like a little 30 FPS with a little bit of stutter. Not a big deal. You do hear a little bit of waterfall, but there's not a hiss or anything. I've heard some people say that they felt like there was a hiss to this table. I do not, and I don't seem to have that at all. There is a little mini playfield here, which is elevated to the other ones, which is very difficult shots in there. There's a couple of little shots that are elevated. These Kai ramps on either side are very similar to Champion's Pub in that way. If you've ever played that game, it's a little bit like that. You hit them up and you get a little bit of elevation to that ball to hit the target top. Those are basically critical hits. If you were playing a Samurai Showdown, it'd be like a critical hit or multiplier or something like that. So this is a traditional fan layout. It's pretty good. I actually like the layout of the field, of the playfield. It pretty well itself. This little flipper we'll talk about. This one gets to be a real pain in the butt. There's a couple different skill shots on here. Otherwise, the table is absolutely beautiful. I love this this throw of cherry blossoms across the playfield here. You see our protagonist versus his enemy here, and you have a couple of different people that he's going to be attacking throughout the game is here as well. This is a very difficult table, and I will say this, these posts, all these bamboo sticks, will be your absolute enemy. The sound effects kit is absolutely beautiful on here, so when you hit these, you'll hear a very distinct bamboo thud, which is very, very nice. The katana, when you hit this to spin this in this little mini orbit here, sounds absolutely awesome. So let's get started, and I'll show you what it can. You can do a little half plunge, or you can do a full plunge and then do a random lane for a skill shot. Pretty tricky to do. Here's that mini flipper, which can be kind of a pain, I gotta say. To start the mode, you need to come up here to do what's called build resolve. So you need to hit this target a number of times. I'm up to 64% if you look on the DMD. You have to get up to 100% to start mission availability. we will have to get back to this mini playfield again to be able to get back to trying to start modes. And I've already lost a ball. Kickbacks on this one. Let's talk about kickbacks. It's very difficult to get a kickback on this table. Typically, for any pinball table that's difficult, the first thing you're going to want to do is work on your kickbacks and ball saves and things like that. Kickbacks on here, you'd think it'd be pretty straightforward. The letters honor, H-O-N-O-R, are across the thing here. The problem is, if you hit the lane where it's not colored, you get the letter. If you hit a letter that's already lit, you lose that letter. And it makes it just that much more difficult to get a kickback. Absolutely infuriating. It's very difficult to get a kickback in this, and if you are able to acquire them, you can actually get 2 of them. If you can acquire them, it's very good, but a lot of times it takes you 2 balls to acquire a kickback, and that's just no good. So, a lot of shots go straight down the middle here, as you're already seeing. I'm trying to nudge to keep this ball afloat. And even that shot from the orbit, very difficult. So you're going to be fighting the ball off a lot on this one. It can be very hard. This is a symbol to help you lock the ball. You can dead flip across, but even that capture hole is not the same every time. Here we'll lock a ball and you'll see the ball roll and then fall into the bamboo. That's across the Tory Bridge is what they call that. Again, sound effects are great on this table, I will say that. There's the samurai, or the katana. This spinner is how you gain strength for your fights. You can level up your character to make fights easier. And here we're going to continue to get our resolve. So we're at 93. Once you get enough resolve, it kicks you back out, and then we can actually start a mode. So we're going to choose our enemy. We have 4 different people to choose. I'll choose Tengu. They all have their difficulties, and they're all multi-tiered. So you have a showdown up at the top, and then you have a second tier, which is a bunch of shots on the playfield. You see his meter go up at the top there, and then there's targets that pop up across the table. Already fighting the ball off quite a bit. And here I have a very specific shot I have to hit. Now it's shifted. They shift quite a bit on this. So hopefully we'll... Nope, it's already moved again. So now he's back over here. I was able to hit him. Now we go down to this mini play field to try to get to the showdown circle, basically. Quite a few different ways to get into this area, but this flipper can be a real pain in the butt. He is still not beat. You can see that he's still got a life meter. Now we need to get back up and finish him off. Now I'm a very weak character at this point, so that was probably more difficult than it should have been. And now we're kind of in a third tier of the mode. So the mode is still not over. Now I'm shooting orbits. Just hit the post there, which is a really difficult shot. Anyway. Oof. Oh, and I'm going to lose a ball. So, that is a pretty good showing in a mode. A lot of times the modes are very, very difficult. In that case, it's a 3-tiered mode. I think they all are 3-tiered. You have to beat them to get to a wizard mode, so all 4 of these characters are going to have to be beaten in their own way. Very difficult title in general. Not having the ability to have a kickback to help you out. Ball saves are pretty hard to acquire. If you look at the rule set for this thing, again, very, very complex rule set. Very story driven. We'll just scroll right on through this. If you want to stop and read any of this, you're certainly welcome to. I'd also highly recommend either looking at this via the mobile app for Zen Pinball World has this game, so you can play it on there as a demo to try it out, as well as Verne's Mysterious Island. And it'll give you an idea of what you can just look at the rule set if you want, for that matter. Take it easy.
Some more practice.
Love the callouts in this. I love the play field. It's a beautiful table. There's a lot to like about this table, but there's a lot to wish could be a little better too.
Careful.
See, that time you notice this kick out actually went to this side instead of this side, so you have to look for it. It's not every time, so it's not consistent. This is going to lock another ball, so I'm ball 2 of 4 for that multi-ball. The way you do that is to hit these 3 shots over here. So if you wanted to get this table just to do a multi-ball and think you can make a bunch of modes or make a bunch of points that way, it's still very difficult. These 3 shots are very hard to hit, and then you have to hit that Tory bridge with consistency, and you have to do it for 4 balls, not 3. So it's a tough game. I would not recommend this for just a casual pinball player. It's just one of those tables that is going to kind of beat you up. It might break your spirit. It did me for the first couple of days playing this. I've had a real hard time knowing what I wanted to do at the table. And that's a full game. That's actually probably the best score that I've had. I almost got through that Tengu mode. So that, in a nutshell, is Samurai's Vengeance. Thoughts on it? What my rating would be? I'm going to give this one a 5. The reason I do that is it's a very difficult table. I did have high hopes for it. You notice my first ball was absolutely terrible. It's not that I didn't do anything in that. It's just that there was no scoring until you get things set up and you actually get into a mode or something. There's really not a lot of points to get on the playfield other than modes. You can lock a ball, but you're not acquiring points. You can up your strength, or you can up your resolve, or you can up your wits and things like that, characteristics for your character, but you're not gaining any points for it. Those points come at a later point and make the fights easier. And of course, there's another wizard mode on this where you actually fight your arch enemy who killed your master, and you have to take on the rest of the clan after these 4 enemies are defeated. So it can be a very tough game, very tough sledding. I give it a 5 just because of the some of the things that would really help this table is an easier kickback. Like a kickback of all things seems like such an easy thing to let you have, and it just does not do that. You'll find yourself fighting the ball off all the time in this table. These posts just become, these bamboo posts, they start to haunt you. Every time you hit one, the ball's going all over the place. You're going to be bumping and nudging all the time. It's a very difficult table. I would not recommend this pack at all to anybody who's a casual pinball player, as I said, even for Verne's Mysterious Island and this one. Much more story-driven. They're much more in-depth. If you're a completionist for the 4KP and you just have to have them, then I'm not going to stop you from getting them. They are difficult tables. They could be very, very fun, and I think if you have a good amount of skills, you could really, really dig into this table, learn the nuance, and really enjoy the table. So
I will avenge my master.
we'll start just briefly here. We'll try to show the others, maybe just show some of the skill shots. That's one skill shot. And we'll show the other one here. The other one is a soft plunge to here. A little harder than that. Come on, get up there. That's too low. But that's actually one strategy to help you get to the random shots here too. So, I don't know. We'll stop there. But that is a Samurai's Vengeance and Verne's Mysterious Island. I hope you enjoyed this review. I believe this table pack to be pretty expensive for what it is. This one actually came in at $15 on the Atgames 4KP, whereas it's only $10 on consoles. And they also have sales on consoles, so particularly Steam is a lot cheaper for this. In fact, I think right now you can get this pack for about $4, something like that. So this might be one that you want to play either through mobile, you can play it with free with ads, or you can get it cheaper on another platform. If you're a completionist, like I said, you're going to buy it anyway for the 4KP. It's a beautiful table. The colors really pop. The sound effects kit is wonderful. But it's really up to you whether or not you think you value those particular tables as they are. Very difficult tables, but that is my take. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Give me a like and a comment in the comments. Just let me know what you think of the tables. If I'm completely wrong, let me know. Or if I'm just being outright mean. I tend to be pretty harsh on things that I don't like, with critiques to try to make them better. This table, like I said, the things that I would do to make it better, the easier accessible kickback would have been a lot better. An ability to get a ball save would have made this table a lot better. For Verne's Mysterious Island, I think the biggest thing would just be the design of the playfield. Stretch it out, give it some more room, and it really would have helped the table a ton. Alright guys, well thank you for coming, and as always, we'll see you on the leaderboards.